More than 9 years after this whole chaos began, Stranger Things is finally heading into its 5th and final season. So before the war really starts, let's run it all back, in order, so you don't get lost in the upside down. We don't start in the 80s, we start in the 1950s. A quiet family moves to Hawkins, Indiana, the Creels. Dad is Victor Creel, the guy everyone will later call a madman. He's thrown in prison, accused of brutally murdering his own family. Victor swears it wasn't him. He says a demon did it. The truth? It was a monster, just not the kind anyone imagined. His son, Henry Creel, is the real problem. Henry hates people, hates humanity, and Hawkins doesn't fix anything. He starts manifesting terrifying psychic powers, twisting his family's minds with hallucinations until his mom and sister die in front of him. Victor thinks Henry died too, but Henry just falls into a coma and gets taken to Hawkins National Laboratory, run by Dr. Martin Brenner. Brenner slaps a number on him, 001, Hawkins' very first weapon. Brenner knows Henry is too dangerous, so he implants a device in his neck to keep his powers suppressed. But this is the US government in Cold War mode. They don't stop there. They try to copy Henry. Enter the child experiments, at least 17 kids, all numbered. One of them? A girl taken right after birth in 1971. That's 11. 11's mother was part of MKUltra, a CIA mind control program that Brenner helped run. Those experiments, plus pregnancy, created something new, a child with powers just like Henry. By 1979, Henry is working inside the lab as an orderly. He befriends 11 and manipulates her into removing the device from his neck. The second she frees him, he snaps. Henry slaughters the other numbered kids and staff in a massacre, then tries to recruit 11 to his "humans are trash, let's burn the world" ideology. But she refuses. Instead, 11 unleashes everything she has and blasts him into another dimension. In that moment, she accidentally opens a gate and sends him into a twisted alien world. There, Henry evolves, scarred, mutated, and empowered, into the thing we'll know as Vecna, named later after a Dungeons & Dragons villain. He starts shaping this other dimension into his own hellscape. 11 survives, but the trauma shatters her memory. Brenner keeps experimenting on her. Jump to 1983. Brenner opens another gateway in the basement of Hawkins' lab, after 11 psychically connects with a grotesque creature on the other side. Same night, in town, a bunch of kids are playing D&D. Mike, Lucas, Dustin, and Will Byers. After the game, Will bikes home alone. He never makes it. The creature from the other side crosses through the new gate, hunts him down, and drags him into its world. Will's mom, Joyce, notices immediately. She reports him missing to the local police chief, Jim Hopper, a broken-down, laid-back cop who just wants coffee and quiet mornings.
Mornings are for coffee and contemplation.
Chief, she's
Coffee and contemplation.
But Joyce starts getting weird phone calls, lights flickering, bulbs exploding. She becomes convinced Will is somehow talking to her through electricity. She paints letters on the wall, strings up Christmas lights, and literally builds a homemade spirit board to talk to her son. Meanwhile, Will's friends go searching for him in the woods. They don't find Will. They find 11, shaved head, hospital gown, clearly running from something. They hide her at Mike's house. 11 tells them bad men are chasing her, recognizes Will in a photo, and shows off telekinetic powers. That's when the boys realize this girl might be their only shot at getting their friend back. Using their D&D brains, the boys ask 11 where Will is. She grabs their game board, flips it upside down, and places a figure beneath it. One world on top, another dark, rotten version underneath.
Hiding. Will is hiding? From the bad men?
That becomes their name for the creature. While this is happening, another tragedy hits. Mike's sister Nancy goes to a party at her boyfriend Steve's house with her friend Barb. Nancy gets distracted, Barb ends up alone at the pool, and the Demogorgon snatches her into that same dark dimension. Nancy becomes consumed with guilt and starts investigating, teaming up with Will's brother, Jonathan. Back with Joyce, she manages to fully connect with Will through the lights and even sees him, through the wall, trapped in that other place. Hopper, meanwhile, starts noticing shady government activity. Then the town seemingly recovers Will's body from a quarry. Everyone thinks it's over, except 11, who insists that body is fake. Will is still alive. Hopper breaks into the morgue, discovers the body is literally stuffed, and realizes someone is staging an elaborate cover-up. He storms Hawkins' lab, gets deep enough to see the horrifying portal in the basement, then gets knocked out and dumped back at his house, bugged by the government. The boys notice their compass is acting weird, like something is messing with Earth's magnetic field. They use them to track the direction of the gate, but 11, terrified of the Demogorgon and the lab, secretly throws them off. Lucas sees this as betrayal, fights Mike, and 11 ends the fight by hurling him back with her powers. Humiliated, she runs away. Hopper tracks down Terry Ives, a woman in a catatonic state. Her sister explains Terry was part of MK Ultra, got experimented on without knowing she was pregnant, and was told she miscarried. Terry never believed it. She's convinced someone stole her baby, a girl named Jane. Later, Hopper and Joyce finally meet 11 and realize Jane is 11. Meanwhile, Mike and Dustin get cornered by bullies at a cliff. One of them tries to force Mike to jump. 11 returns at the last second, saves them, and breaks one bully's arm. In tears, she finally admits she's the reason the Demogorgon came through in the first place. Government agents track them to the school, but 11 flips a whole van with her mind so the group can escape. Everyone regroups. Hopper, Joyce, Nancy, Jonathan, and the kids. They need to find Will and Barb in the other world, but 11 is exhausted. To boost her powers, they build a makeshift sensory deprivation tank in the school gym using a kiddie pool and a ton of salt. Inside that void, 11 finds Barb, already dead, and Will, still alive, hiding in the upside-down version of his backyard fort. Hopper cuts a deal with Brenner. He'll give up 11 if Brenner lets him and Joyce go into the upside down to retrieve Will. At the school, Brenner and his agents show up to capture 11, but she slaughters several of them with her powers. All that blood draws the Demogorgon. It rips through the remaining agents and turns its attention on the kids. Cornered, 11 channels everything she has left. She disintegrates the Demogorgon and disappears with it. Hopper and Joyce find Will in the upside down, pull him back, and revive him. A month later, life seems normal again. Will's back to D&D with the boys. But in secret, he's coughing up slimy slugs and seeing flashes of that other world. The gate may be closed, but the infection is still there. 11 didn't die. She claws her way out of the upside down, but can't go home. Hawkins' lab has her under surveillance. Hopper finds her living feral in the woods. He brings her to his grandfather's old hunting cabin and hides her there on one condition: she can never leave. Hopper tries to be a dad again, cooking for her, watching TV, stocking up on Eggos, but isolation eats at her. She sneaks out to town and sees Mike, but when she spots him talking to a new girl, Max, she assumes he's moved on and leaves without revealing herself. Meanwhile, Hopper is meeting with the new head of Hawkins' lab, Dr. Owens, who is trying, and kind of failing, to manage a new dimensional problem. Rotting pumpkin fields across Hawkins are hinting that the upside down is poisoning the town from underneath. Joyce is now dating Bob, the sweetest nerd alive. Will is having episodes, visions of a massive shadow creature in the sky. Owens calls it PTSD, but Will knows it's something else. On Halloween, Dustin finds a weird little creature in his trash, keeps it as a pet, and names it Dart. Will hears Dart's noise and recognizes it immediately. This sound belongs in the upside down. Ignoring the warning, Dustin treats Dart like a pet. Bad idea. Trying to follow Bob's advice to face his fears, Will confronts the shadow creature he's been seeing. The entity dives into him. The Mind Flayer just got itself a human host. 11 fights with Hopper after he discovers she's been sneaking out. In classic telekinetic teen rage, she blows up the cabin interior. While cleaning up, she finds a hidden file about her mother and psychically reaches out to her. The connection breaks, so 11 goes to Terry's house in person. Inside Terry's mind, she sees what Brenner did, repeated electroshock until her brain broke. 11 also sees flashes of another powered girl, 8. Meanwhile, Will's condition worsens. He starts drawing frantic, abstract patterns that no one understands, until Bob realizes they're pieces of a map of Hawkins. That map leads to tunnels beneath a pumpkin patch, where Hopper ends up trapped in a web of upside-down vines. Joyce, Bob, Mike, and Will race to save him just before a lab team arrives and sets the tunnels on fire. Because Will is now linked to the hive mind, burning the tunnels tortures him. He's taken to the lab, and Owens realizes Will is connected to every creature from the upside down. At the same time, Dustin discovers Dart has changed, shed skin, grown bigger, and eaten his cat. Dart is a baby Demogorgon, and he's not alone. Packs of demo dogs gather around the lab. Back on 11's side, she leaves Hawkins entirely. She travels to Chicago and finds the girl from her visions, Kylie, also known as 8. Kylie can project illusions and leads a crew of outcasts hunting down people who worked with Hawkins' lab. They find Ray, the tech who electroshocked Terry. 11 almost kills him, but stops when she sees his daughters and hears him claim that Brenner is still alive. Kali pushes 11 to leave Hawkins behind and join their crusade, even using an illusion of Brenner to manipulate her. But 11 sees a vision of her friends in danger and realizes where she truly belongs. She turns her back on revenge and heads home. Back in Hawkins, everything collapses. Will, under the Mind Flayer's influence, lures a squad of lab soldiers into the tunnels, straight into a Demogorgon ambush. The creatures storm the lab. Joyce sedates Will to stop the Mind Flayer from using him as a puppet. In the chaos, Bob becomes the hero. He decodes security, restores power, and guides Joyce and Hopper out, only to be ripped apart by demo dogs right in front of Joyce. The survivors regroup at the buyer's house to plan a counterattack. Dustin realizes this big entity inside Will matches the D&D villain, the Mind Flayer, a hive mind overlord. Killing the Mind Flayer means killing Will, so they need a smarter play. Close the gate, cut off its connection to this world. They split up Joyce, Jonathan, and Nancy, take Will to Hopper's cabin, and crank the heat to burn the Mind Flayer out of him. The kids, plus Max and Steve, go into the tunnels and start fires to lure the demo dogs away. Hopper and 11 head for the lab to close the gate. Down in the tunnels, the kids are nearly killed, until Dart, remembering Dustin's kindness, lets them pass. At the gate, 11 faces the full force of the upside-down storm. She levitates, screams, and slams the gate shut, severing the Mind Flayer's direct control. In the aftermath, Owens helps Hopper officially adopt 11 as his daughter. She finally gets a name, a family, and one night of normal teenage life at the school dance. But as the kids slow dance, the Mind Flayer still looms over Hawkins in the Upside Down. Watching, waiting. It's 1985, and Hawkins is obsessed with two places, the brand new Starcourt Mall and the public pool. Steve is working at Scoops Ahoy with a new co-worker, Robin. Max's angry, unstable stepbrother Billy is a lifeguard at the pool, hypnotizing all the local moms, including Mike's mom. Billy plans a secret meetup with her, but on the way, something else intercepts him. He crashes his car, gets dragged into an abandoned steel mill, and becomes the first human host for a new version of the Mind Flayer, built from piles of melted rats. From there, Billy starts recruiting. He drags another lifeguard, Heather, into the mill and feeds her to the monster. Meanwhile, Dustin comes back from science camp with a homemade radio tower he calls Cerebro, and claims he has a genius
Girlfriend?
While trying to contact her, he picks up a Russian transmission and takes it to Steve. Robin overhears and helps decode it. They realize the code is tied to Starcourt itself. The call is literally coming from inside the mall. Following clues, Dustin, Steve, Robin, and Lucas's little sister Erica discover a secret elevator, a hidden base, and rows of Russian soldiers trying to reopen a portal to the Upside Down under the mall. Hopper is not thrilled that Mike and 11 are glued together 24/7. He threatens Mike into backing off, so Mike starts lying to 11 to avoid her. 11 teams up with Max. They go full girl power, hit the mall, and spy on the boys using 11's powers. She catches Mike in his lies and breaks up with him. The D&D group fractures. Will just wants to play, while Mike and Lucas obsess over relationship drama. Will feels left behind and destroys his old fort, officially burying his childhood. Joyce, meanwhile, notices her refrigerator magnets losing their magnetism, which leads her back to Hawkins' lab with Hopper. They find strange energy signatures and a Russian assassin who beats Hopper down. At the same time, Max and 11 use 11's powers to check in on Billy, and he looks back. That's the red flag. The Mind Flayer has returned and locked onto 11 as its main threat. Nancy and Jonathan, working at a local paper, investigate people acting weird and eating fertilizer. The pattern is clear. The Mind Flayer is building an army, taking over residents and turning their bodies into raw material. 2 of those infected attack Nancy and Jonathan in a hospital. When they die, their bodies literally melt together into a single monster. 11 barely manages to throw it out of the building. The monster retreats to the mill and fuses with everyone else under the Mind Flayer's control. Hopper traces the Russian assassin back to the corrupt mayor and forces him to confess. Starcourt is a front. The Russians have been buying up property beneath Hawkins to power a gate-opening machine. With Murray acting as translator, Hopper and Joyce capture a Russian scientist, Alexei, who confirms everything. There's a massive machine under the mall trying to crack open the Upside Down again. Underground, Steve, Robin, Dustin, and Erica are running for their lives from Russian soldiers. Topside, the other kids regroup at Starcourt for a final stand. The Mind Flayer, now a towering flesh monster made of melted townspeople, storms the mall. 11 tries to fight, but during the earlier cabin battle, a piece of the monster got lodged in her leg. Removing it burned out her powers. Hopper, Joyce, and Murray break into the secret base to shut down the machine. Dustin, back on Cerebro, guides them through the tunnels. At the mall, the kids use fireworks as makeshift artillery against the monster. 11 breaks through Billy's possession and reminds him of who he was before all this. In one moment of redemption, Billy steps between 11 and the Mind Flayer and sacrifices himself, dying in front of Max, Mike, and 11. Down below, Hopper gets trapped near the machine. He shares one last look with Joyce, silently telling her what to do. She turns the keys and destroys the machine. The gate collapses, the Mind Flayer dies, and Hopper is gone. Or so everyone thinks. Owens and the military arrive, clean up, and blame everything on a disaster at Starcourt Mall. Hawkins falls into shock. 11, now without her powers, moves to California with the Byers family, leaving Hawkins behind, but not for long. 8 months after Starcourt, Hawkins High has a new ruling faction, the Hellfire Club, a D&D group led by metalhead Eddie Munson. Mike, Dustin, and Erica are all in. Lucas tries to reinvent himself on the basketball team. Max has broken up with him and is drowning in guilt over Billy's death. Eddie deals drugs on the side. One of his customers is Chrissy, a popular cheerleader who's secretly being tormented by her abusive mom and by terrifying visions, clocks, whispers, spiders, and the Creel house. Chrissy goes to Eddie's trailer to buy drugs. While he's searching for them, Chrissy slips into a trance and becomes Vecna's first on-screen victim. Her body levitates, bones snap, eyes burst, classic Vecna calling card. The spot where she dies becomes a small gate to the Upside Down. Chrissy's boyfriend Jason and the basketball team turn Eddie into the villain in their heads. They spin a satanic cult panic, and Eddie becomes the most wanted man in Hawkins. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, we learn Hopper survived the Starcourt blast, but got captured by Russians and thrown into a gulag. Joyce gets a mysterious package with a cracked Russian doll and a message. Hopper is alive. She and Murray follow the trail to Alaska, pay a shady pilot named Yuri, and get double-crossed. Hopper bribed a guard to help him escape, but Yuri sells out both him and the guard. Hopper almost makes it out, then gets thrown right back into prison. This time, scheduled to fight a caged Demogorgon for the Soviets' amusement. In California, 11, now going by Jane Hopper, is struggling at her new school. She's bullied by a girl named Angela, humiliated in front of everyone at a roller rink, and finally snaps, smashing Angela in the face with a skate. Right as the cops show up to arrest her, Dr. Owen steps in, fakes her death, and takes her to a secret underground facility in Nevada. He believes 11 is the only one powerful enough to stop what's happening in Hawkins again. There, he introduces her to Project Nina, a sensory tank designed to help her relive memories and restart her powers. She agrees, until she learns Owens is working with Brenner, who is very much alive. Inside Nina, she relives her childhood at the lab, her relationship with Henry Creel, and the events that turned him into Vecna, piecing together the full origin of the monster terrorizing Hawkins. Back in Hawkins, Vecna continues his killing spree, targeting kids with trauma. 2 more die in gruesome fashion. Max realizes she fits Vecna's pattern: trauma, nightmares, nosebleeds, visions of the grandfather clock. Knowing her time is almost up, she writes letters to everyone she cares about, just in case. At Billy's grave, Vecna finally takes her. He drags her into his mindscape and begins his ritual. But this time, the group is ready. Thanks to Nancy and Robin's research, they know music can break Vecna's hold. As Max hangs between life and death, Lucas, Dustin, and Steve blast her favorite song, Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush, straight into her ears. The music cracks open a path, and Max claws her way back to reality, barely escaping Vecna's grasp. He's not done with her, just delayed. Joyce and Murray overpower Yuri mid-flight, crash in the wilderness, and force him to help them infiltrate the Russian prison. Inside, Hopper and other inmates are fed a feast not as a reward, but as a last meal. They're thrown into an arena with the Demogorgon. Using fire and strategy, Hopper manages to fend it off just long enough for Joyce and Murray to override the systems and open the doors. They rescue him and learn about the upside-down creatures in the prison. Realizing Vecna's power is tied to this entire hive mind, they go back in and start burning everything they can, trying to weaken the army from afar. Back in Hawkins, Dustin notices their compasses freaking out again, just like in Season 1. He tracks that disturbance to Lover's Lake, where a new gate has formed. Steve gets dragged through the water gate into the Upside Down. The others dive in after him. They discover that each Vecna murder opens another gate at the death site. They escape back through a gate in Eddie's trailer, everyone except Nancy. Vecna seizes her mind, reveals that he is Henry Creel, shows her the vision of Hawkins torn apart and consumed by the Upside Down, and sends a message meant for 11, This is the endgame. Inside Nina, 11 sees all this from afar and demands to leave. Owens agrees. Brenner doesn't. He sedates Owens and tries to force 11 to complete her training, insisting he's always been trying to protect her. Before he can finish, the paranoid army colonel who thinks 11 is the threat arrives with troops and a helicopter. They smash into the facility, kill guards, and shoot Brenner as he runs across the desert carrying 11. The colonel orders the sniper to kill her too, but just then, a pizza van shows up. Mike, Will, Jonathan, and Argyle. Their distraction gives 11 enough time to regain control of her powers and bring the helicopter crashing down. Brenner dies in the sand, still insisting he was her protector. 11 walks away. She doesn't forgive him. The group realizes they can't physically reach Hawkins in time, so they improvise. 11 will join the battle from afar, using a makeshift sensory deprivation tank in a Surfer Boy pizza. In Hawkins, everyone designs a 4-part boss fight against Vecna. Phase 1. Max, Lucas, and Erica go to the Creel house. Max will let Vecna into her mind again and act as bait. Phase 2. In the upside-down version of the Creel house, Steve, Nancy, and Robin will attack Vecna's physical body once he's occupied. Phase 3. Eddie and Dustin will distract the swarm of demo-bats guarding Vecna's lair with the most metal concert the Upside Down has ever seen. Phase 4. 11 will enter Max's mind from Nevada to fight Vecna directly in his own psychic arena. It all starts smoothly. Max willingly walks into Vecna's trap. Dustin and Eddie shred Metallica on the roof of Eddie's trailer to pull the bats away. But Jason, Chrissy's furious boyfriend, storms into the attic and finds Lucas and Max mid-plan. Convinced it's a satanic ritual, he attacks Lucas and smashes Max's Walkman, her musical lifeline. In the mindscape, Max fights as long as she can, but without her song, Vecna overpowers her. Mike confesses his love to 11 through the tank, giving her the emotional push to fully unleash her powers inside Max's mind. She breaks Vecna's hold, but not in time to stop him from killing Max. Her bones break, her heart stops. Vecna hits his quota, 4 kills. Above, Steve, Nancy, and Robin set Vecna's body on fire and unload a shotgun into him, blasting him out the window. When they reach the ground, his body is gone. In the real world, 11 refuses to accept Max's death. She reaches into her mind and jumpstarts her heart. Max lives, but falls into a coma, blind and broken. Max's brief death completes Vecna's ritual. 4 gates rip open across Hawkins and converge at the Creel house, or tearing it, and Jason along with it, clean in half. The cracks spread across the town. 2 days later, officials call it an earthquake, but people know better. Many residents flee Hawkins. The buyers return with 11. The group is reunited, but not healed. Max lies unconscious in the hospital, with Lucas reading to her by her bedside. Joyce and Hopper finally reunite in Hawkins, scarred but alive. Hopper gets his moment with 11, father and daughter back together. But the peace is fake. Will feels it first, the familiar tingle at the back of his neck. The same presence that haunted him in Season 2. He knows. Vecna is still out there. Outside, ash-like spores float in the air. The land near the gates blackens and rots. The horizon over Hawkins looks like the upside down bleeding into reality. The board is set. The pieces are in place. And now, the final war for Hawkins and for both worlds is about to begin.